Callix saw something out in the distance. It was the sort of thing that you never really wanted to see because there was light, and light was scary because Callix lived underground. Not alone. Callix lived with hundreds of people. And the dark was good because the outside were scary and there were monsters and the light flashed. It wasn't just strobe all the time, but suddenly he was exiled and he didn't really want to talk about it, but he was gone. Callix decided he didn't really like the sun because it was bright and it was shining and it was supposed to be gone sometimes. He remembered it was supposed to be gone sometimes, but it wouldn't be there. And there were these sharp objects, and they were supposed to be something like food. He thought they were food, but he didn't really understand because food was edible and it wasn't pokey and it wasn't like it was brushing against your arms. And he couldn't turn around because if he turned around, he'd just see the cave mouth and they wouldn't let him back in and they wouldn't even open the door. So all he could do was just keep moving forward as the day crept, moved, slowly, down, down with the light, down with his patience, down with his legs, down with his energy, down with all the motion that he had. And then there was night. And there was something in the sky that was maybe a little bit more moderate for him, something he could appreciate because the moon was okay. It wasn't so bad. He'd seen it in books. It was pretty. It was fine. And as Callix started to wonder if maybe it would be okay, maybe this was like a story, maybe the moon was the thing that was going to bring him to some kind of happiness, he saw something in the distance, and it wasn't really a person. It was like a robot. It was like one of those robot animals that kind of, crept along the corridors of the underground, except it had hair all over and it kind of flourished and there was something kind of trailing off of its sides, and it was more like magic than anything Calix could have imagined before, because magic wasn't real, but this thing, it looked at him and it spoke and it said, "You're gonna be fine." And it was said in such a scary voice that Callix didn't believe it. So he turned and he ran, and behind him the wolf said, "Trust me." And Callix didn't want to, so he kept going. And the wolf said, "Not that way." And Callix had to turn around because the wolf was in the way, and it looked like it would attack him. So he went left and he went right, and the wolf was right behind him, and it said, "Forward." And Callix eventually found something far, far away once the wolf was gone. There was a castle in the distance, a castle next to the setting moon. But this castle was ragged and ruined and broken, and all sorts of pieces looked like they were about to fall off. But Callix was happy because he had found shelter and there was lightning, and maybe this was some place that he could be. So he went inside because the door was unlocked, and he wandered the corridors, and he lay in a corner somewhere until light shone through again, and he thought maybe the pattern of the night and the day really wasn't so bad. And so he decided to go exploring. And he walked around the castle and he reached a parapet and he looked out at the sky, and it wasn't so bad. It was okay, and maybe he'd find food. He looked around the castle, and underneath underneath the little bin there were some pellets that he remembered from when he lived underground. They were the same style, so he was going to be okay for at least a few weeks. This wasn't going to be so bad. He was going to figure it out. And then he saw something over the parapets in the field that he had trekked through at night. There was a figure, And the figure looked at him, looked up. He didn't know if he could really be seen, but the figure was like, "Anyone there?" And Callix ran downstairs, ran to the base of the tower, locked the door, barred it tight, because he did not want anyone to see, anyone to hear, anyone to take what was his, because he had already been thrown away. But this noise made the hiker aware. So you know what happened next? The hiker began to bang on the front door and said, "Please, please let me in. I'm hungry. I'm starving. Don't you have anything? Don't you have a heart?" And Callix said, "Sorry, go away. Go away." But the hiker kept going and said, "Do you really want to be that person? Do you really want to be that person who just leaves someone out here to die? What if it was you?" And of course, Callix knew what it was like because he had been left out to die, and something twisted his heart, and even though he knew he was making a mistake, he let the door open.